Good day, and welcome to my CV. So we will be exploring my technical website CV. Now this was very intriguing as I have not properly done a website before. So I decided to use HTML5 and CSS3 because to me, a lot of it was still new. We did use ASP.NET before, but it was not enough to make me happy for this project. So I did use a Udemy course. Sadly, only after I did it, I realized that free courses do not allow certification. I would like to do a certified one in the future, but let us continue. Okay. So I use Node.js because a lot of places use it, Facebook and all of them. It's really nice. It's almost seamless in my opinion, right? Okay, so looking at the CV, you can see it's saved onto GitHub. Now, GitHub is a great place to store your source code and to also monitor it, right? So here you can see I've been working on this for a very long time. Unfortunately, I didn't start on the source control as I first wanted some locals to work. Okay, so here we also have the standalone server, which I have successfully implemented and runs. The only thing that does not happen is an alert text message, which I would really like to learn how to do. I know it should be JavaScript, but that's a lesson to learn. Okay, so our question has been answered, I hope. I also use React because React is a really great tool. Unfortunately, because of how the libraries and everything was set up for React, they want to use Bootstrap for this and they want to have you download this. I do not want to use an API for my website because I want to build it from scratch. So here's to show that I have the capability, but I'm not wanting to do it using frameworks at this point. I might be wrong, but I really want to learn that in the future. And then maybe we can have this so much better. All right. So APIs. We start with my APIs. Here we go with my Steam API. All it does is it shows you my recently played games, and then let's go to the code. Recently played games and how long you've played them in hours. For this hours, I had to divide by 60. As you can see, here's my Steam API. I bring in the first game after I've gotten this URL. Now, this URL, all of it, was very hard at first because I did not have this function. So I tried to create a Node.js server, and while I still had those errors to do with proc files and so forth, I could not get my Steam to work on Heroku. Both of my nodes ran on local. So the problem got solved when I ran into this perfect gentleman who gave me this code, and he recommends not to touch it. So it's just a proxy to not need a Node.js backend for this. I already have a Node.js backend for my database, so I really thought that this was neat when I saw it. Okay, so the Steam comes in very simply. It gets the last played URL, last played title, last played hours, and then it just sends it back through your documents, right? Your DOMs. Okay, so from there, I just put them into flip files. Very, very easy. I also put a lot of style into it. I made the widths perfect for the banners because the banners only come in one size. Stretching could look very ugly, so I did a lot of work, and I hope it's seen. The next API I have is the NASA APOD API. Now, this is also a really cool one. It's an API that sends you a pick of the day. Now, this pick of the day can be chosen by, as far as I know, anyone who works at NASA, and they'll never run out of it. So, once this page loads, we do the get NASA. We do the NASA function, right? So here we have the NASA function. I get a HTTP request. I do the API URL. I see if the server is up and then I do a response, and then I get the JSON passed. Now, to do the JSON pass, this took a while as well. I do have 2 pass responses. One is for the API after this, and then this one is a copied one from this. At first, I did not understand JavaScript as well as I thought, so I had a lot of work cut out for me. As you can see, there's comments reminding myself about things. It really was fun though. Okay, so the next API wasn't NASA, but it was a Chuck Norris fax. Now this one is a really cool one. However, I know some people do not approve, as you can see like that. But me being an IT student of this generation, I really love this. So during my whole project, while we're here, we can see these really cool field sets that I have here. Now, they have made life better. So much better. Might not be an API, but it has really nice integration into the grids. Okay. So then the next API code for the random facts is right here, as we saw earlier, gets pulled through. Right? So now, to get that one, we see on this screen all these all of these. These are for the NASA. This field set is a very nice thing, as I said. The field set only does this border, which is really nice. I've used it a lot of places because it made it look a little bit better. So I used flex container grids to be able to display the API like this. And then I created the flipkart inner with help from W3 Schools. It was the hardest thing about this was to do with the styles. Now the styles for the flexes took almost the longest, but it was fun, as styling should be. So I have about 6 containers. Yes, there we go. 6 normal flex containers, and then I have 2 others. So this one is for input. We'll get to that one later. And here we have all the flexes, as you can see. So I have overflows so that it doesn't go over the page. I have margins so that it fits in better. I have padding so that the words fit inside better. I have the flex directions. Yeah, that's really all there is to it. There are a few styles to it. Because of the IDs, I created some styles for the logo and the data and the Chuck. I only have the margin, but for the Chuck Norris facts, I still have the flex, the width and height, so that it all ends up staying inside this page and never getting kicked out. So this was a bigger thing than I thought it might have been. And as well as the NASA had this also annoying part of having a big thing. So I've solved it by using a text area, which I created a maximum length for, and it does not seem like today has a title. I wish I knew why. Okay. So next we have this whole huge integration with Node.js. Now, because it's a standalone integration, I'll show it over here. So here I created the server just to be able to pull. Okay. So, as we can see, this code and the one on the server has been changed a little bit, but the server one hasn't been touched because it works and all that. So, from the server, you go into an app.js, but in this case, the app.js also needs roots. Now, the root is all it is it's a database constructor type of software. Software is not the right word. But I really loved using it because it was easy. You didn't need to create extra things. It's very simple. You came in with the Express. So I had this whole course, which was a little outdated, but he helped me a ton. They do have newer courses, but I do really enjoy this guy's presentation. Okay. So very simple. We get it through. We have a post where we get the request, we respond, and then with the next function, we have this constant CV. Now this is just the inputs we'll have. So on the page inside my HTML, I have these inputs. Now these inputs are inside of a form. Now this form, all it does is it does an action. All right. So it does an action to my Node.js to send through my form validation. Okay. Now it also can target an item frame on the screen and stay inside, but unfortunately the alerts button is not inside of my scope yet. I would like to learn it, especially for the next project. I saw a few nice things about creating a JavaScript which pulls it back. I did not get that to work. So I ended up doing this and just making it blank so that when you submit it, and just to show you some about that, you cannot submit it without having the proper fields. Okay. So now that we have that, you can see, boom, it's went through. Now I would have liked this screen to go away, and I can do that with this item frame, or at least hidden frame that I use. So I target this hidden frame, but I still want the user to know that they pull to the server. So I just used Atlas MongoDB, which worked like a dream. I had absolutely no problems using it. The connections were effortless. The keys worked. It being a NoSQL database made it even easier at the end of the day. And that's all I would really like. I would like to show that connection was made. As you can see, we have written into this database. I can easily pull it through SQL, but I'm not gonna be able to waste that much time. Okay. So within this API that I created, I thought that it would be very nice to have a card, because cards are used a lot in today's time. You can see them cards. This is flip cards. They're used everywhere because they're easy to use. They scale easily. Everything about it just feels smoother. So I used the card here in the hopes of making it 50%, but I still liked using the header and the footer. As you can see over there, no. As you can see here, I created a footer, but I took out the header as the image was scaling very iffy. So the footer was very nice as it scales this properly. Okay. So from here, we know that the API works. Now we can look back at the rubric. So I have now shown 4 APIs, and I have also used another API for fonts. It might not be a big one, but I still consider it to be an API because it was my first one. So I created the fonts, and I just simply brought it into body. Nothing hard about it. Okay. So the CV is hosted exactly at this. Okay. The MongoDB is also listed here, but it's not as easy to access as GitHub, which is probably a better thing. I have read that Node.js is not as secure, especially in the past few weeks. On my feed, I've seen Node.js get a lot of problems in terms of people getting user details and so forth, pooling. So using Node.js for a system in the future is not something I'm gonna be considering. I did use a WebSocket before for an Android app, and I think that might be a better way to do it if you want security. So that's just my comments on Node.js. HTML was great. This is my course that I ran. It's not the best of the best, as you know, it's free. But there's a lot of people who use this, and it helped me create my site from scratch. So, now we know that I provided a working link, and we know that I have a CV site on GitHub, and then also I have this a server site on MongoDB on Heroku. Okay. So, did the student include comprehensive options that would typically be expected in a CV? So the furthest I could think about having the technical side, because I'm not as well versed in animations or anything like that. The only animations that I was able to think of was an animation that brought this in, or animation that brought this in line by line. So bringing this in with animation coming from the left to the right felt very corny, which I did not like in a formal setting. Okay, as well as this HTML to CSS or all that loading in line by line was giving me slower loading time, so I took that out. Okay, so the most I can have is these skills, which makes me sad. Here are my contact details. So if you think of anything I could add, I suggest you put it here, as this will be something I want to update bi-monthly. Okay. So all the code, let's just walk through the code from this top to this bottom. Okay. So with the HTML, I just simply imported my scripts, and then I started. Okay. So these links are for the APIs. Okay. This one might not be necessary, but this one brings in very nice stars, which I did the rating with. So I was thinking of using an array, but it seemed to take too long to create these stars. Okay, so it does take a lot of space, which is why I would like to have an implementation idea of something else in the future. Maybe React will work better, but I do not want to use something that in most of the sites I went into use bootstrap.min.css. Okay. Now I've used Bootstrap before in a professional environment, so I know exactly how easy it can be. Now, going through, you can see these field sets. Now I loved using these field sets. All of them are almost the same, but the biggest aspect it does is it looks like it divides my screen. So when I look at this, I know I'm looking at Steam. And when I look at this, I know I'm looking at the exact thing. That's why I decided to use these. The next thing we can talk about is the flexes. Now, the flex containers really help me with a lot of things in terms of scaling. So when we look at scaling, the screen almost looks better when it's closed, or arguably does look better when it's closed. Now that is something I like, as mobiles are becoming more and more popular. I know a CV might not be for mobile just yet because people want to see it somewhere else, but why not? Okay. So during this whole course, I experimented with a lot of things. As you can see here, I did experiments quite a bit with React, but it felt like cheating. Okay, so all of these styles, let's look at the styles. I come in with the styles, I have the imports, I have the body, I create this footer style just so that I know the REST API, this footer is not gonna be off of screen. The button, I just have that style put in to be able to see this. Also have a hover, which makes it look different when you go over it, which is a really nice functionality. I have this hide, which is actually for the hidden frame. So I can always keep that in mind for future. So now I also used a lot of styling for just about everything that I could think of. Okay, so my images I scaled 100 to 100% so that they don't go over cards or anything like that without having, um, except for it's the dot image one. I'll show you that when I get to it. But that actually helped me a lot with the height of this NASA pic, especially because I had to put in things like flow and all that, which put in the scroll bar, which made it look so ugly. And then when I finished cleaning up my flex and I put in this image, this dot image that just says, class image that just says width and height 100%. That literally sorted out this whole problem, and now it flexes properly. All of these sites are linked. I'm not a big social media guy, so the best places to find me would be email or cell number. Okay. So I really hope that it does impress. In the future, I will like to see better animations in my own code. But for now, my animations are only contained to this one, which is a simple color animation, and then this one, which is almost the same. Now, like I said, I had this one floating in from the left. I also had it floating in from the right, but it would get all choppy and get cut off while running over the screen. That might be a error on my side, but it still felt very corny in the way I was doing it. So let's have one last look at this rubric, and I am sure that is everything. Thank you very much for looking at my CV, and I hope the rest goes well.